Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Perfect Pyramid series right here with us, with the Charles and Dr. Yes Show. All right. So as you're coming in, definitely let us know where you're tuning in from and maybe tell us what your favorite food has been lately, because I've been craving some pretzels and chocolate chips.
I cut out ice cream for September.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's huge. Charles would sit and eat like a whole bucket of ice cream.
Yesterday I had an acai bowl, though, and I don't know if that counts because it felt like ice cream, but I think technically it was fruit.
That's right. So anyway, so welcome here. Welcome for another show with us here on the Perfect Pyramid series. We're really excited about today's topic is the 3 shenanigans you should know about that happen in the world of MLM that you wouldn't believe it even exists, that you should know about so you can avoid to build a business with integrity. How awesome is that? Right, Charles?
It's huge. There's
really
so much that I remember my first 6 months, 1 year in network marketing, things that I didn't even know were happening, like at these different levels and behind the scenes. And, like as I've been in the industry longer and longer, like your eyes and your mind, it gets opened up to like all the stuff going, like in any career though, like in any sport, there's more levels and there's things happening that you're not aware of until you get into those inner circles and those behind the scenes clubs and private leadership groups and conversations. And so you start to see some things happening the longer you're in the industry. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicole, hi. Thank you for joining us. Joyce from Boston.
She's craving chocolate, huh? Yep.
That's fantastic. Well, we share the same cravings, Joyce. So
Raw loves the dark chocolate. I like the milk chocolate. Charlie doesn't like chocolate. Our daughter, she doesn't mind a little bit of it, but she doesn't like eating, a chocolate bar. Like she's not interested.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. And hey, I mean, drop us in the comments if you are, excited to learn about things that happen in the world of MLM, and if you want to learn about that, because it does happen. And if you're excited to avoid certain situations that you will encounter at some point in your business, and if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen. We just want you to be on the lookout. We just want to make sure that you know what's going on so that you can make an adjustment or a pivot right away. So these shows are all about helping you become a better network marketer. These shows are all about helping you become a better and stronger and a more confident recruiter.
Yeah.
These shows are all about to help you become such a great network marketer so that you can build teams with integrity and build your business on a foundation of integrity. So let's talk about real quick about integrity, so that we can have it as our segue to talk about those shenanigans, because obviously shenanigans are directly correlated with integrity, right? Or the lack thereof. It implies a lack thereof of integrity, right? So if you're following, let us know. Say I'm following. The more you share with me what your thoughts are, what you're thinking, the more we're with you and connected, because I can't see you. Anyway, so integrity, ladies and gentlemen, is the glue, right, Charles? It's the glue that holds good people to good companies.
Yeah.
It's the glue that brings good people together. Integrity is sticky. It helps good people stick together.
Mm-hmm.
And integrity in an MLM company, it really starts from the top down. Okay. So it starts from the top down and creates an environment in an ideal situation, right? It's starting from top down. It's creating an environment for you to be able to build bottom up, right? And build a massive organization. And where does integrity start? Where does it lie? It starts, ready? It starts with the owners.
Yeah.
Okay. So the owners are the source of integrity, or the lack thereof in any company. They're the source. And what they do, their beliefs, their values, is mirrored and reflected within the culture of the entire company which you are a part of, and which your prospects that you're going to bring in to your team are going to become part of. So one of the key things you want to build value in, we've talked about this in previous episodes, is
in your recruiting process.
In your recruiting process. So if you haven't watched those episodes, definitely go back and watch them, is how you can build value in the ownership of the company. And definitely visit those if you haven't, in your recruiting process, because it's a skill. And so today we're going to talk about 3 common shenanigans that happen in the world of MLM, and it's happening maybe around you right now. Hopefully not, but if it is, you're gonna be equipped by the end of this episode to know how you can adjust or pivot and what you can do. Okay, so these 3 shenanigans that we're going to reveal today are so big. They're also very common in the industry. And what I'm going to do is I want to share with you 3 questions. Those 3 framing questions are going to, what they're going to do is they're going to frame the shenanigans for you.
Help you put a spotlight on it if it's there.
Right, precisely. So, and it's going to help you run away, in the other direction, or pivot or adjust, or know exactly what you're going to do next. We want to help you save lots of headaches and lots of disappointments before they happen. So that you're on the lookout. So are you guys ready for question number 1 and shenanigan number 1? I think shenanigan is such a fun word to say, but it's such a not good thing to be in or a part of or associated with, right? So the first shenanigan, I'm going to frame it through this question. Are prospects allowed to pick their sponsors? Are prospects allowed to pick their sponsors? If you're taking notes, you can definitely jot that down. And I'm going to turn around because I want Charles to slay this for us.
Yeah. So I think the obvious answer would be no. Of course not. That doesn't make sense in network marketing, right? You're bringing people and then they're signing up with other people. That wouldn't work. And I think we intuitively know that's obvious. It doesn't work, but you'd be surprised how many companies and organizations and things that happens in them. And integrity does start with the owners, right? I think is a quote that I love. It's everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And that comes from the ownership. The owners are the leaders. They're steering the ship, and their integrity is infused and creates the integrity of the whole company and the culture. So, and integrity creates trust, and it can take a long time to build, and it can go away in an instant, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think this is a great question, and if we ask it in the right way, it can help shine light on it, if there's some shenanigans happening. And so, but the obvious answer would be no, of course not. You can't decide who's your sponsor, but the question is really how is it handled, right? How is it handled when people are shopping for sponsors? How is the culture of the organization? Everyone, all the leaders, everyone should be putting a kibosh, putting the foot down. No, we don't let people get invited by one person and deciding to join with another person, right? That's obviously doesn't work. You're not going to keep inviting people to a company if they're always going over on someone else's team. You're you're not building. So, right. But the question is what happens when here's another, here's a specific instance that may kind of shed light on is what happens if 2 people prospect the same person? Mm-hmm. What happens when somebody is prospected by someone but doesn't like the person they're prospected by? You know what I mean? They want to join, but they don't even like that. It's so there's these different scenarios and situations that happen. I'm just give you one example of something that happened to us. Is that one time I actually prospected somebody for a company and signed them up, right? And that person then went ahead and prospected his friend. And what happened was they found out that their friend was already in. But the friend had not prospected them. So I prospected someone, he prospected his friend, and he found out the friend was already in. Then that friend turned around and tried to convince the rep that I recruited to quit and join his team. It was crazy, right? And that friend also put the guy I recruited on the phone with his upline, and the upline tried to convince him to leave my team and join with them. It was like, it wasn't just like a newbie rep, like not knowing what's going on and just saying, you know, kind of innocently like, oh, you should be with me and we're friends. He got his upline involved, and the upline, who I knew about this person, should have known better. That you don't do, the upline should have known better. And so it was crazy. But how would that make you feel? Right? How would it make you feel? And so if your people were getting like talked to by other people to go join their teams instead of joining your team when you introduce them, right? Try to plant seeds in your prospects' heads to join somewhere else instead. Like, it wouldn't make you feel good. And it's not going to make you excited to keep building, right? And these are things that slow down the momentum of an organization when these things are happening. So, you know, and then check this out. Here's another little kicker. I actually found out that upline that was trying to convince my rep to join him instead was my upline as well. So my upline was trying to steal from me to put this person on his other team. Just it's in his team anyway, and he's going to make money on it anyway. But he was trying to convince my guy to steal to put him in his other part of his. It was so wrong on so many levels. I'm not even going to get into it, but it was crazy. And so it's this kind of stuff happens, and you want to be in a place where it's not happening. And by putting the kibosh on it, it doesn't happen as much. It happens less and less, and it goes away.
Right. Or being aware of it. So I think, how does this apply to you in that, you know, nowadays, well, before COVID happened, and even before COVID, we, you know, a lot of network marketing companies have incorporated, you know, Facebook Lives or, you know, Zooms as part of their home meetings. Home meetings have shifted from home meetings in a physical location to online, and a lot of companies still do both. So it doesn't matter whether your company event happens online or whether it happens in a physical location. What you want is that when you invite a prospect to an event, whether it's online or in a physical location, you want to feel safe and confident that your guest is not going to be picked up by another sideline or even an upline or a downline in your team, in your company.
Yeah.
So if you are in an environment where that is a norm or that happens behind the scenes, maybe you're someone new to the industry altogether. You're like, really, things like this happen? I mean, I'm not going to go through every stories, but Charles just shared a story. But we have so many stories along those lines where we, you know, invited a guest, for example. We live in Arizona. We invited a guest in Texas. We had a home meeting in Texas. And then this guest was being prospected in the meeting by another sideline trying to snatch them, right? So there are things like that can happen. These are shenanigans that we want to avoid, and we do not want to emulate, right? And this is a learning lesson for all of us is, hey, do you want to build a business based on a foundation of integrity? If yes, then we want to increase our awareness so that we avoid such things to happen to us, but at the same time, we do not become that person in our business doing this to other people. Everyone, when those things are, say an amen to me or amen, something?
Exactly. But when those things are not happening, right? When you're in a company and in a group where those kind of things just don't happen, that's something you can be proud of and something you can talk about and something you can promote, and something you can build value in and say, man, this is incredible. And you can trust, you can bring people here. Like this is a team where everyone works together and people have integrity. And that's something that's easy to build value and to get people excited about, that just solidifies people's excitement and belief in wanting to join and wanting to, you know, stick with something long-term. So
yeah, absolutely. So
tell them shenanigan number 2. Let's get into it.
Shenanigan number 2, guys, it's coming. So does the company approve genealogy changes just to keep certain people happy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. It happens more than you think. Mm-hmm.
So just real quick, every company has a time frame to make genealogy changes. Different companies have different rules around it. It should be stated in the terms and conditions of your company, or the genealogy rules should be accessible to you in the back office, or whatever it is your company does.
Some companies don't allow it at all. It's like once they're signed up and they're in, that's it. They're in, and they don't move anybody anytime ever at all, because maybe their way their compensation plan is, the bonuses have already been paid, and they literally can't because it messes too many things up, and that's all it is. Sorry, if you place them in the wrong spot, oh well, they got joined with the wrong ID number, like, oh well, like, be careful, measure twice, cut once. But other companies, like we're all saying, most companies, there's kind of a grace window for placements, and
in case you did a mistake.
Yeah, and it's just like, I put them in my left leg instead of my right leg or something. And most companies kind of work with situations like that, but sometimes companies allow genealogy changes years later, months later. I'll just fill out a form. And I think a lot of times it has to do with favoritisms, and sometimes companies and leaders do things in corporate because they want to try to make certain people happy, right? And you have like the tail wagging the dog leaders with too much control, or, when there's a big time leader with a big percentage of the company's production and growth, they want to keep that leader happy. They don't want to go to another company, so they'll just kind of let them do things. And so that's a dangerous situation to be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
so. Integrity, guys, is such a key, and poor integrity breeds distrust.
Yeah.
Right, and then you have distrust will bring about, it breeds doubt, and you have 1% doubt, you're out.
Yeah.
So
let me tell you a quick story. So like, I remember the company where I met Dr. Yes. I had been there for 9 years, and we met right as I was leaving the company. But so I knew a guy there who wanted to switch teams to another company, to another team, right? And the company said, no, they don't allow that kind of nonsense, right? And so he went ahead and signed up anyway on the other team under his wife's name. That's a shenanigan, right? That's like they said no, and he wouldn't try to find a way to do it anyway. And so he signed up a new spot under his wife's name. And then when it was exposed that it had happened, the company said, hey, you shouldn't have done that. And they moved the whole team that he had built over there. They moved the whole team back underneath who the person was, the original sponsor, into the original position. And so then that guy who got, moved back, and the team moved back, and the person who had basically stolen him, they quit the company and they left to go to another company, and they started their team over there with the same types of shenanigans. And they built their whole foundation over in this other company on these same types of shenanigans happening. and the company was allowing it, and it was crazy. So you start to know like what's going on, and the story sometimes you find out way later. But anyway, so that's it was a crazy situation. The company had moved. Hey, they found out this shouldn't have happened. They moved 500 people. They copy pasted the whole organization back to where it should have been. And a lot of people were like, they were bummed out. They're like, well, this is not where we had built. And it caused a big ruckus, you know what I mean? And it should have never happened to begin with. The company made a move of integrity to put it back to where it should have been. But all these people who had been basically building in the wrong team, that didn't know that they shouldn't have been there to begin with uplines that shouldn't have been signed up there to begin with, all felt it was crazy. So
it brings us to the third question, which is related somewhat. Just like Charles was saying, like a whole 500 team members were just copy pasted from one leg to another or whatever. So who does those things?
The whole team quit. All those 500 people that.
Who does?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know.
They all quit because a poor integrity can be an anti-momentum builder. It's like an anti-momentum killer. You know what I mean? Lack of integrity. They found out this had happened, and that this like breach of integrity just stopped all those people. So
the third question is, who is in charge of genealogy change decisions?
Right.
So there's someone behind a desk at your MLM making those decisions.
They say it's okay or it's not okay.
pressing that click button, and it's more than a click. It involves a process more than a click, but at the end of the day, it is a click, right? So, and the reason why I say that, because I was responsible for a genealogy change at a company when
the genealogy changes.
Everything had to come through me, when I was a C-level executive at this company. And the reason why one of the reasons why the owner, actually, I didn't apply for a job there. The owner of the company knew of us and knew of our, reputation and whatnot. And he approached us to ask us to help found and bring up his company. So we both had different positions in that company as C-level executives. And I was one of the things, besides the marketing aspect, was I was responsible for the genealogy changes. And the owner made it very clear, and he said it multiple times on different occasions, whether it was in conversations with other people or with me directly, is that he would not have anybody or anyone give them the key to the genealogy changes. He completely trusts me because I won't do any shenanigans.
And she knows because of her experience and leadership, level, that she knows what's a shenanigan, what should be allowed, what shouldn't be allowed, compliance, what's, inappropriate and what shouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? It's because there's the ability to identify it and differentiate between, this is like, we should move this person. It was a situation, but the other times is like, this person's trying to pull one over on the comp plan or trying to game the system or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not appropriate.
Sometimes it's gaming the system. Sometimes, if it's a mistake within the period of grace, then, of course, that's fine. But then sometimes people want to make changes, and it is in their heads what it seems that it does not have any consequences, but it has unintended consequences on the entire team and the downline, and
the integrity of the culture.
And at the end of the day, exactly, on integrity of the entire culture of the organization. Anyway, so I was in charge of genie changes, and the first several months, everything was fine. But then I started getting phone calls from the owner himself, asking me, hey, could you make this situation slide with this person because they're a big deal, and that person because they are like we don't want to piss them off, and
push this one
through, and insert this person above this person, and move this person from this leg to. And
insertions are illegal. If you didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, asking me to make insertions, and all sorts of shenanigans, and I started feeling really uncomfortable because that goes against everything, my beliefs, my values,
and what you were hired to do too.
To do. So shenanigans like that happen, insertions and all sorts of kinds of things. And ultimately, Charles and I decided to leave our positions and our cushiony, very,
we had to leave. Yeah. So the company, if you ask a company, hey, like, is this kind of stuff allowed? Or like, you're asking like, who's in charge? Like most company leaders, they're not going to admit, you know what I mean? If this kind of thing happens, even if they know it happens or not, they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like you can move things around whenever you want. Like that's not going to really be something anyone would admit. But when you start to get around certain, influences, certain people, certain circles, like rumors spread and stories spread. And especially when you're around people who have been in the industry a long time, you can kind of get a feel for certain companies and the kind of things that are allowed in certain companies. And so you learn about certain companies and certain people that develop reputations and the way they do business, and what's allowed and what people participate in and what they say no to and what is allowed, right? And so, people who want to build an honest business are not going to be attracted to companies where this kind of nonsense is happening, right?
Right.
And I got a couple notes here. It's like if these things are happening, eventually people find out. And like you can't hide it. Like it's like imagine like someone was on your team and then like they quit or they stop calling back, stop picking up the phone. They're like out. You're like, I guess they quit and they won't pick up the phone anymore. And then you see them 3 months later walking across the stage getting promoted. And you're like,
what happened?
That's my guy. Like he's on my team. You're like, hey, good job. And you're like, but he's not promoted on your team. He was promoted on you can't hide it. Like how you can't hide success. Like it's gonna happen. So it gets exposed.
over time.
Integrity is an old saying that this business either promotes you or exposes you, right? And so if you ever find yourself in a situation where integrity is chronically compromised, right, you can decide whether you want to keep building there, right? Or at least you can decide if you need to like shelter your organization and corral your group and guard them from outside influences and negative anti-momentum building influences, right?
Right.
And you can kind of coach your team, train your team, and start leading your group with integrity and build a wall of integrity around your organization as best you can, because you have to if you're going to build it where there's stuff going on like that, right? So, but when you're a part of a company where, you know, that's infused with integrity, right? And that with owners that operate with integrity and with a culture that's full of integrity, that's something you can be proud of, right? And it's something you can promote. And it's something that can be one of the first things you talk about. It can be something you build value in to your prospects. They're asking you about the product and you're like, let me tell you about the integrity of this organization, of the people I work with, that comes from the top down, from the owners, and what they don't put up with. And maybe that conversation isn't as relevant to someone who doesn't have network marketing background to someone who does, but especially when you're talking to people who are at a high level, talking to people who have network marketing experience, talking to people who have had one or two or whatever, you know, experiences with other companies. These are the kind of things they want to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll get to the product. We'll get to the comp plan. I want to know about the people. I want to know about the integrity. I want to know about the owners. I want to know about what's allowed and not allowed. And like, I want to make sure, if I'm going to build here, that the team I'm bringing is going to be my team. Can you imagine waking up one day and your whole team's all on one leg now because some person in corporate pushed the button without asking you and moved people from one leg to your other leg, or from your team to another team? Like it happens out there. It's crazy. And with thousands of companies, all kinds of stuff happens. Corporate America, there's good companies, there's bad. It has nothing to do with the industry. It has to do with people. And there's good people and bad people in corporate America. There's good people and bad people in network marketing. There's good, and so we just want to decide what kind of person we want to be, and then identify those kind of people and be around them, and then identify the kind of culture we want to create. And when you're going to attract people like that, and it's one of the best things to promote, it's one of the best things you can build value in. And get you proud and make people excited to build long-term and create retention and loyalty in your organization. It's not just about a product anymore. It's not just about making money anymore. It's about building something of integrity that everyone can be proud of and be excited to promote.
Because money comes.
Because money comes and money goes. But when you're doing something that feels good and works right and people are being treated right, the money comes and it keeps coming.
That's right.
Keeps coming and it keeps coming.
Because you're building a business that is based and founded on integrity. So just like Jason here is saying, it's just like with kids, the truth always comes out. So integrity in that sense is a truth that is going to come out at one point. So if you are on the lookout though, would you rather see that, when you're in your 5th month in your business versus seeing it on your 5th year in the business, right? So those trainings, that we're doing here is just, just going to help you hone your skills in so many ways at so many levels and in
potentially broaden your perspective of what's out there, what's happening
of the industry, so that when you have a broader, high-level perspective, a bird's-eye view on the industry overall, you're just going to become the person you need to become and the leader that you deserve to be for your team, to bring other people up with you as you're building an organization that is founded in integrity.
We've got lots of other topics and lots of other things we're going to talk about as these different, shows roll on, but we're kind of on a roll with this kind of subject for this, and maybe one more show, and then we'll maybe shift subjects, to a whole different subject. But
correct. So we've been talking about ownership from different angles, and then we are gonna talk about I can't remember right now in my notes, but we're gonna take different segments of the industry that you need to know about, so that you can become a great network marketer.
We're gonna dive in and we're gonna pull it apart, peel the layers of the onion back, and sometimes It's more than you can cover in one conversation, and there's more layers and start peeling them back, and the owners of a company, the integrity there, and the different things you can build value in, right? Besides, hey, what's the product? And then no, they're interested in the product or they're not, they want to join or not. Like there's other things you can build value in at a high level to attract people in a whole new way that maybe you haven't been able to do yet.
Right, absolutely. And Joyce here is saying, it's like building a business on a brick. Absolutely. Because when you're building a business on a brick of integrity, and when you've done your homework about the owners of your company, and what that is going to do for you is that it's going to bring your conviction level up. I asked a question this week on Monday, what's your conviction level in your what's the level of your conviction in your opportunity right now? And if you feel that just like the body needs nutrition, right, in order to keep fueled up and keep going, just like your car needs gas to keep going an extra mile, your conviction needs to get fueled. And one way to fuel your conviction is by diving deep and knowing the story of your owner, right, of the company, the story of the company, the story of the owners, the story of your uplines. And when you fuel yourself with those stories, your level of conviction is going to go up. And when your level of conviction is up, and that's what's going to fuel
you catch on fire.
You're going to be on fire, and people are going to see you when you're on fire because you can't hide away light. And so we want you to be the light in this world of network marketing to others, bringing people hope and opportunity. And it starts with honing our own skills of us becoming better network marketers. So this show is all about that. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the Perfect Pyramid series. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.